He never talk. Okay. Okay.
So my dear friends, a very, very heartfelt welcome to you. Please know your presence is truly a blessing, and heartfelt welcome to those rectangles of love. So my dear friends, as the program says, in our house of worship here, we always start by, first of all, honoring our ancestors and our indigenous people, the Native American peoples here. So I'll ask George to come up and do the honors for that.
Thank you, Jamal. Well, good morning, everyone. Lovely to see all these smiling faces on such a gorgeous, gorgeous autumn morning. Well, this morning, as is our wont, every single service, we start by calling in our ancestors. And that really is basically just taking a few seconds of silence here and bringing to mind whoever has an impact on you, who comforts you, who you think belongs here with us today. So let's just take a few seconds and be silent and reflect upon that. And given that we are at this time of year, and this Thursday will be the winter solstice, I think it's about 7:30 p.m., I thought I would read this little homage to our ancestors from what's called the Light Collective. And they say, our ancestors understood that life's path and spiritual journey cycles with nature. Ancient wisdom recognized 4 major moments in the celestial calendar: spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, and winter solstice. Experiences that connect with the rhythms of the natural world, the sun, the moon, the planets, the tides, the earth, so that they can experience their connectedness with all things. Through the solstice and equinox events, we tune to the cyclical patterns of Mother Nature and celebrate the coming season. Through ancient traditions and sacred space, we acknowledge and tune into the outside world as an individual and as a community. This is an opportunity to expand, connect, and rewild. Winter solstice, a pivotal time that not only signifies the longest night of the year, but the rebirth of the sun. This period brings contemplative and restorative downtime for the body and for the mind, and the rest and digest we crave for balance in our vitality. The elliptical nature of the Earth's rotation around the sun and its tilt brings the experience of the sun as arcing over our planet. In summer, the arc is high across the sky, and over the course of the year, it slowly lowers until its lowest point, creating the shortest and longest nights. From the solstice, the suns are gradually increasing and heralding longer days and more light into our lives. For this reason, although the day would traditionally mark the start of winter, it became a moment of celebration, a moment of hope, the tipping point between the dark and the light. The winter solstice night reflected an ancient wisdom, a vast faith, and a joy in the great forces of nature and divinity. An understanding of the balance of life, the darkness is needed. It is a moment of rest, an internal journey of the soul. It is the quiet that descends our lives in winter, the quiet nature as it rests. When we follow the patterns of nature, we step into a deep divine rhythm of rest and action, dark and light, the sun and the moon. Some people fear the dark, resting in themselves. They mask it with too much action, too much food, alcohol, and drugs. When we have faith in the constant cycle of the universe, there is no need to fear. No need to fear the rest time, the dark spaces of our minds and bodies, because we begin to understand that with it resides the light, the spark of joy, beauty, growth, and grace. We have nothing to fear because we can feel and sense the growing light both outside and within. We allow ourselves to be at peace. To celebrate the darkness is to know our own light, our own fire that continues to burn. And then the other tradition we have is to honor our ancestors. As you know, as we sit here today, we are sitting on land that was the ancestral home of the Duwamish people. And I thought I'd read this little bit here too, just simply because I can never remember all these things. The Coast Salish are the indigenous people who lived in the southwest of British Columbia and of northwest Washington, along what is known broadly as the Salish Sea. And that includes the Puget Sound, Straits of Georgia, between Victoria Island and the mainland, the Strait of San Juan de Fuca, between Vancouver Island and the Olympic Peninsula. They share a common linguistic and cultural origin. Archaeological evidence indicates that the Coast Salish regions have been inhabited since around 9,000 BC. And yet today, there's an estimated 56,000 Coast Salish people living in the US and Canada. Interestingly, there are 29 federally recognized tribes through the state of Washington. And and the Duwamish tribe is not one of them. Although not recognized by the U.S. government, the Duwamish remain an organized tribe with approximately 500 enrolled members. Seattle is the only U.S. named city that's named after a native chief. Chief, I can't pronounce this, Sayalach, that we call Seattle, was the leader of the Duwamish people. And it's the Duwamish lands that currently make up metropolitan Seattle. Ancestors of the Duwamish people have been living in this area since the end of the last glacial period. They were the stewards of this land for close to 10,000 years now. And up until the mid-1800s, when white settlers began taking their land away. In 2009, the Duwamish tribe opened the Duwamish Longhouse and Cultural Center. It is located at 4705 West Marginal Way. There, they established a Duwamish Tribal Service as a nonprofit organization to provide social and cultural services to the Duwamish tribal community. You can read more about them at www.duwamishtribe.org and/or support them by going to www.realduwamish.org. And I thank you.
Thank you, Brother George. That was beautiful and very comprehensive. Thank you. For the Divine Feminine, I invite Sally Jo. But before that, can you hold this mic? I've been told that I have been amiss in not ringing the bell. You're not officially convened. So can you hold the mic?
I was wondering when he was going to realize that. I didn't want to, mention it.
And now I'll ring the bell. Lucky you. Now you're officially convened. You may proceed now, Sally.
Okay, thank you, Jamal. Well, welcome everybody this beautiful, beautiful December morning. And my name is Sally Jo. I would like to share, I asked Jamal specifically if I could share the Divine Feminine reading this morning, because last night I attended this incredibly beautiful concert of the local group called Pacific Music Works, and they did a program in honor of the mystery of Mary. And this is the time of year, of course, during the Christmas season and the celebration of the birth of Jesus, that we particularly acknowledge and celebrate Mother Mary, Virgin Mary. And I want to read this paragraph about that the people who put on the concert described about how Mary is exemplified in the Hispanic world, in the continent of South America and Central America, which is where this music originated that we were hearing last night. Mystical rose, gate of heaven, morning star, mirror of justice. These are just a few of the titles ascribed to Mary, Mother of Jesus, over the past 2 millennia. In the shadow of a predominantly patriarchal church, Mary was the embodiment of the feminine divine, mother, protector, intercessor, and advocate. Yet, in the dynamic blending of European, African, and indigenous beliefs that characterized Christianity in colonial Latin America, the veneration of Mary assumed an even more central role in the region's spiritual landscape, amplified by the series of 5 Marian apparitions witnessed by the indigenous peasant Juan Diego and his uncle Juan Bernardino near Guadalupe, Mexico, in December 1531, that added one more titular star to Mary's crown, La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe. The goal of this program from last night is to present a sampling of the incredibly rich and powerful body of art, poetry, and music which blossomed from Marian devotional traditions on both sides of the Atlantic. While couched in the Catholic faith tradition, these works explore truths far too universal to limit to one creed: the humanity and wonder of motherhood, the desire for comfort in difficult times, and our hope for redemption and healing in a broken world. So one of the, I thought that was a particularly beautiful description of how Mary exemplifies the divine feminine in our world. And one of the songs that was presented, God, I wish I could recreate the music for you, but I'm just going to read the words from this song, in which it's by an artist named Cerruti, who actually came from Spain but lived in Peru and practiced his music in Peru. I just came back from a 3-week trip to Peru, so I'm really into this. And the title is called From the Vast and Limitless Sea. And in this song, Mary, the Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary, is compared and identified with the attributes of the ocean. And the words go like this. From this vast and limitless sea, a beautiful, pure little brook delights, and in the pearly torrents it produces, even the smooth murmuring is without equal. Yet how much greater it is if in the dazzling surge, in its crystalline brightness, God's grace is its current. Who will be this pure stream that with wandering ways is born today, just like any of us, but belies such a heavenly origin? Who is it that from the dark valley refreshes the shore and passing through the heavens touches no lethal soil? But who, if not the mirror of beauty, which alone in itself portrays purity? For in order to please their superiors, even the waters themselves speak of Mary. And of this event, most pure and immaculate, with tongues of crystal, they speak so lucidly. Even in a riverbed of human flesh it flows, the pure, sovereign rivulet, to make God's grace even more clearly manifest. If that aspect is reflected in its light, today it is witnessed that it has been conceived without the stain of wretched evil. So may we all honor Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, beautiful star of light, as we go through this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally Jo. So I'm going to invite our friends to do one more piece of music, but as they go up there, being a chant junkie, as you always know I am, let's do a chant. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Just the beloved women. Just the beloved men. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Family all together. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Once softly. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Twice aloud. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. And just being silent for a few seconds, being open to what is called the glow of presence. And now beautiful music from Birgit and Phil.
Thank you. This is also an Israeli folk dance for Hanukkah, and it's a couple dance, very old, from old Israeli folk dancing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, my dear friends, we can start this sermon. The topic, as you know, is recreating the mind. But before I start, we received some very sad news yesterday that David Jenkins, a beloved member of our community, who was really a fixture for many years from Port Townsend, and I'm looking out this way because he used to always have his camper out here, and he would spend days and nights because he loved our community. So he has passed away, David Jenkins. What can I say about David? You know, he gave so much of his being, really authentically of service, and he was so loved by everybody. What I remember most about David, besides his acts of service for so many years, was his love for his daughter. He had such a close bonding with his beautiful child. And he was a poet. You know, his background was medicine and technology, but he was a poet who traveled in many parts of the world, and he taught classes on poetry. And I do want to say that he had very good friends here, Susan Kingston, Gretchen, Anita, Lee, and I last met him at Anita and Lee's wedding, and he was telling me that, believe it or not, he said, some of my best years, maybe my best years, was in the camper in the parking lot connected to Interfaith Community Sanctuary, because he experienced, after a long time, he said, authentic community. He loved that wonderful, being a poet, he loved that wonderful verse from Rumi, please come out of the circle of time and enter the circle of love. So we thank him for his love, and we are very grateful that we are able to provide that wonderful family circle of love for David as he's soaring with the angels. So I love being a poet, David being a poet. I love poetry myself. I love to quote Rumi, who says, oh David, Brother David, how marvelous was the way you quit the world. How marvelous was the way you quit the world, the way you ruffled your feathers, and breaking free of your cage, you took off for the soul's world. A love-sick nightingale among owls. A love-sick nightingale among owls. You caught the scent of roses and flew to the rose garden. This is a very beautiful verse. A love-sick nightingale among owls. Brother David, you caught the scent of roses and you flew to the rose garden. Let's just have just a few seconds of silence, sending light and love to Brother David, who I know is soaring with the angels, continuing to be of service, and maybe reciting poetry. Thank you. So my dear friend, this is a teaching moment that David is teaching us. Time is precious. Death is inevitable. Time is precious. Death is inevitable. Again, loving poetry, I'm thinking of some poems from Rumi. Travelers, says Rumi, travelers, it is late. life's sun is going to set. Travelers, it is late. Life's sun is going to set. In the brief moments that you have time, please spare no efforts of your wings. Travelers, it is late. Life's sun is going to set. In the brief moments that you have time, please spare no effort of your wings. So I asked myself, Brother Jamal, what is it that's needed to be said, to be done? Do it now. The time is now, the place is here. And for someone like me in my stage of life, the other poem resonates very deeply. Childhood, youth, maturity, and now old age. Every guest agrees to stay 3 days, no more. Every guest agrees to stay 3 days, no more. Master, you asked me to remind you, time to go. Time is precious. What needs to be said, what needs to be done, the time is now, the place is here. There's another one I'm remembering. Death is hoarse from shouting. Death is hoarse from shouting. From so many astounding blows, death's drum skin has split. Death is hoarse from shouting. From so many astounding blows, death's drum skin has split. Jamal, you enmesh yourself in trivialities. Jamal, you enmeshed yourself in trivialities, dramas, melodramas, and only now do you apprehend the mystery of death. So just be with that for a few moments. Which takes me to a wonderful saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Muslims don't know this very well, neither do non-Muslims, of course, that Prophet Muhammad was very much against any hierarchy between humanity and God. He would always say, I don't want any priests, any intermediary between humanity and God. And a very wise lady went and said, but sweet Muhammad, we need to make important decisions in our life, priorities in our life. And what did the Prophet said? He said, the only priest you ever need is awareness of your death. Knowing that, the priorities rearrange themselves very beautifully. Which reminds me of another story, a true story. A Khalif, who was one of those leaders who succeeded Prophet Muhammad as a community leader, he retained an employee. He gave money to an employee, this Khalif, big ruler, who'd come every day and tell him, my lord, time is precious. Life is impermanent. Change is inevitable. Death is inevitable. Every day he would come and remind him, and the Caliph would give him, give him money. And one day the Caliph told him, thank you so much, I don't need your services anymore. And the poor servant, that employee, said, my lord, have I offended you? He said, no. You see what's happened is, for the first time, some white hair has appeared in my beard. And that's the best reminder for me of all those things that you're saying. So to recreate the mind, what is it we need to know? Why are we here? Rumi says, your greatest regret on your deathbed might be that you spent an entire life without tasting the water of your own essence. Jamal, you spent an entire lifetime without tasting the water of your own essence. You got enmeshed in your trivialities, as I mentioned, dramas, melodramas. I got stuck in that, forgetting I have within me Christ nature, Buddha nature, Elohim nature. I never got beyond that. And that 14th century sage Hafiz, he says, Another of your greatest regret might be, oh universe, I did not kiss you enough. Oh universe, I did not kiss you enough. What did the Buddha say? His last words when he was dying? Be a lamp unto yourself. Be a lamp unto yourself. Work out your salvation with diligence. What did Prophet Muhammad say before he died? He said, do ye righteous deeds that will please your sustainer. This in a way summarizes, and we can use our mind, why we are here on planet Earth. Two main reasons, among many other reasons, but two main reasons. I am here to evolve into the fullness of my being. Every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year, I have choices to make. The Prophet Muhammad said, every day, you're either ennobling your soul or oppressing your soul. Getting closer to your divine spark or getting further away. So one half of my work is to become a more perfected, evolved human being. I love that poetry which some in our community know by heart, where Rumi says, you are a ruby in the midst of granite. You are a ruby in the midst of granite. Who knows how the other line goes? You are a ruby in the midst of granite. How long will you continue to deceive us? For we can see the look in your eyes. So please return to the root of your real self. Your real self. Again, Islamic mystics say, Brother Jamal, you wear so many masks in your life. Remove those masks, because your real face is so beautiful, if only you knew. Your real face is so beautiful, if only you knew. That's one half of my work. The other half, that Prophet Muhammad said, do ye righteous deeds that will please your sustainer. Can I be of service to God's creation? Can I be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder to God's creation to help someone's soul heal? You know, I always quote that Bengali poet Tagore, the 20th century, who said, what did he say? About service. Anybody remember? Oh, thank you, Salijo. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and found life was service. I served and lo, service was joy. Just be with that for a few moments. That helps me gather my thoughts too, by the way. Okay, so the mind, becoming aware of the mind is very critical. I love best the words of the Buddha, who says, we are what we think. Everything that we are arises with our thoughts. Jamal, speak and act with a pure mind, and happiness follows you like the wheel follows the oxen cart. Speak and act with an impure mind, and sorrow follows you like your shadow follows you. So our thoughts, very critical. Which is why in our congregation, in our classes, we always encourage these practices to become aware of a negative thought. It has a deep impact. If I leave it unaware and allow it to fester. If it festers, it goes into a feeling, a negative feeling. If the negative feeling festers, it creates what Sufis call negative imaginary scenarios. Negative imaginary scenarios. And all the mystics say, please don't say that's not a big deal. That's a very big deal if you don't take care of it. Why? Because, and this is scientific, the subconscious does not care whether it's real or imagined. It does not distinguish between real and imagined. It has an impact on our life. Those negative imagined scenarios manifest if they're unchecked. That is why wonderful techniques like the moment you have these negative imagined scenarios, I tell myself, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. In the East, they say, neti, 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 not real, not real. Not this, not that. If you're cyber savvy, say delete, delete, cancel, 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 cancel. So be aware of those thoughts that deteriorate, that fester into negative imaginary scenarios. Any technique you can find to take care of that. Okay, let me move on. You know, last month I talked about that book, the one we've been studying in class a few weeks ago, The Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama. And they talk about, but they both agree, Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, what does it take to create joy, happiness, meaning in your life? They say you have to focus on 4 qualities of the mind and 4 qualities of the heart. I'll keep it short, you'll be happy to know. Just 4 qualities of the mind. What's the first one? The first one is, can I have a different perspective, which has to emerge from within, from my suffering, from my work. So I've chosen a different perspective to help me go beyond my tribal affiliations. There's a verse in the Quran that says, this is so powerful, if you get to know the other on a human level. If you get to know the other on a human level. In the past, I've talked about this program that I and my Interfaith Amigos, we were invited by a very conservative Christian evangelical church. And there they would go on missions. And a small group of those evangelical Christians, very conservative, they were very sweet, very vulnerable. They came and said, you know, we went to Oman. Anybody been to Oman? It's a beautiful Arab country. And they said, when we went there, and we were there for months, we were so touched by their hospitality. And having been there not just for one day or 1 week or several weeks, several months, we realized this hospitality, this kindness, this reaching out is genuine. And they said we lost our motivation to share the good news. They said, I'd rather you just be how you are. How did that happen? Just through getting to know the other, a different perspective. Just be with that. Another example, a very big one in this country, LGBTQ+. All the polling shows that even the most conservative Christians, over 40% of them, over the decades, they have changed their views. They're now in favor of same-sex marriage. 40% of conservative Christians. How did that happen? There's a lot of research. And the research shows, this is in a book called American Grace, that many conservative Christians, they loved some of their neighbors, co-workers at work, but they had no idea they were gay until it became safe for them to disclose it. By that time, this is called the bridge model. The bridge had already been made. They could no longer, because they knew them personally, on a human level, they could no longer dehumanize them or demonize them. And what is interesting is this, for me, as a cleric, is that the research says that nothing in the scripture has changed to change their views. Nothing in the scripture has changed. So the insight is the understanding, the interpretation of scripture is shaped by social relations. The understanding of scripture is shaped by social relations. Okay, the second point the book makes is that to really be happy, have meaning in life, be humble. Be humble. Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu say they began to feel freed, enriched, ennobled when they began to tell themselves, I am nothing special. I am nothing special, nothing superior to you. So I love this story, in the teaching story, where there's an aspirant who wants to be a great spiritual master like Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu. And, he's taken a lot of courses to become a spiritual teacher. But he wants to become like an enlightened spiritual teacher. So he goes to a very superior enlightened being and says, can I study with you? How long will it take me to become enlightened? And the master says, 10 years. And the aspirant, the seeker thinks it's too long. He says, sir, what if I study twice as hard? How long will that take? And the master says, 20 years. So he thought maybe he hasn't heard him. He says, what if I study with you, really persevere 3 times as hard, 30 years? So why is that? Said the student. He said, because the path of enlightenment needs for you to be humble and bow and use your 2 eyes to find your path. But if your 1 eye is fixated on the fame and glory, you've only 1 eye left to find your path on the path to enlightenment. Can I practice humility? Okay. The third one. The book says, if you really want to be happy, laugh a lot. Have laughter in your life. Which is why I love those Mullah Nasruddin stories. So let me just say 1 or 2 of the favorite ones of David, because we talked a lot about Rumi, he was quite familiar. He'd been to Pakistan, India, other places. He was familiar with the Mullah Nasruddin, who is a fictional character. So what was one of David's favorite stories? About excuses. He had learned to be disciplined, to overcome his excuses. So if you know the story, and most of you know it, someone knocks on the mullah's door, can I borrow your donkey? That's done in that part of the world. The mullah does not want to give the donkey, so what does he do? He lies, makes up an excuse. Oh, brother, if you had just come 5 minutes ago, I just lent it to another neighbor. Unfortunately, just at that time, the donkey in the stable begins to bray. But I hear your donkey. The mullah's caught. He pretends to be angry. Who will you believe, me or the donkey? Think about what are the excuses we make in our life. And as my father always told me, I love to repeat this again and again, my father would say, son, very gently and tenderly, son Jamal, in our culture we say beta, beta means beta Jamal, your excuses are so creative. If you only channel it in a different direction, you'd become enlightened very fast. So what are your excuses? The other one which David loved, the mullah is gravely ill. The wife is lamenting and crying. And now in comes the authority, the expert, the pundit. And who is that? The allopathic medical doctor who examines the mullah at length. Then turns to the mullah's wife and says, oh, honorable wife of the mullah, only Allah is immortal. Your husband's soul has flown to the bosom of God. He is no more. He goes on in his eloquence. But the mullah is not dead. And he's feebly saying, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. What does the wife say? Quiet. Don't argue with the doctor. And by the way, the story goes on. David told me that since the doctor certified he was dead, he said, okay, I'll be dead. He lies on the open coffin, and they're all carrying him, and people are grieving as they're carrying him to the burial place. And the crowds are gathering on the right side of the coffin, left side, in front, on back. And then an argument breaks out. What does Islamic law say about accompanying a funeral, what do you say, coffin? Is it halal? Is it kosher to be on the right side or left side or in front or in back? What does the law say? And they argue, they fight among themselves. The procession has stopped, and the mullah can say no longer. He sits up and says, I'll tell you what the law says. You can be on the right side or left side or behind me or in front of me as long as you're not inside the coffin. And then the procession continues. Okay, so this is about laugh about our dramas and melodramas. My favorite one, I should probably stop here, but I just have to tell you that my favorite one is about eccentricities, which you know. The mullah, every night he's dreaming that he is wrestling with donkeys. Every night, wrestling with donkeys, wrestling with donkeys. I'm getting sick and tired of wrestling with donkeys. So his friends and co-workers, family, they get together, they pool some money, take him to a healer who pours some, Quranic verses on the water, does some other incantations and ritual. He says, Mullah, drink this tonight, and those nightmares of wrestling with donkeys will disappear forever. Mullah says, sir, can I take it tomorrow night? Why not tonight? Because tonight, he says, I am scheduled to participate in the finals of the wrestling match. Okay, last one. Not last one, fourth one from the book is acceptance. Can I accept what is in my life? It doesn't mean I get stuck there, do nothing with it. I can improve on it. I can change it. I can go against the karma. Like somebody, told the Buddha, this is my karma, I can't do much about it. Buddha said, no. Karma is like a stream flowing in one direction. You can always swim upstream. You can walk upstream against the current. You can change your karma. But this is a world of duality. Can we accept the fact that there will be joys in life? But because it's a world of duality, there is bound to be what? Its opposite, sorrows. This inspired Rumi, by the way, to go into a trance. God turns you from one feeling to another. God turns you from one feeling to another, so you might have two wings to fly, not one. So can I accept that? The wonderful Sufi Attar, he has a story of a king who used to get so depressed when there was defeats, difficulties in his kingdom, and get so overly excited when there was victories, good news. He wanted to get out of this valley of depression, of so depressed of bad news, and going so high when there was good news. So he asked his wise counsel, what should I do? They took his ruby ring, and they inscribed 4 words on it. And they said, in times of good times, look at it. In bad times, look at it. What were those words? Very famous. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Okay, I wanted to add 2 more before I finish, besides acceptance. One is flexibility. To train the mind to be flexible. You know my most favorite verse about flexibility. You know it by heart. Blessed are the flexible, for they will never be bent out of shape. I love the story of Confucius, true story. Confucius had several disciples who in many ways was superior to Confucius, yet they chose to study with him. People said, why are these people your disciples? He said, let me tell you. This particular disciple is so eloquent, but does not know when to simply give a yes or no for an answer. It's not flexible. This disciple is so far more courageous than I am, far more courageous, but does not know when to be cautious. Let's take a third one. This third disciple is so regal, so dignified, but does not know when to be unassuming and humble. Flexibility. Lastly, I will add one more, because this is the core of Taoist philosophy. Training the mind not to overdo anything. Taoism says that the biggest problem human beings have is they just don't know when to stop. they overdo it. That requires training of the mind. And so many examples are given. You take an arrow, you bend it, it'll go further and further, but keep on bending, it'll break. I've overdone it. Sharpen a knife, become sharper, sharper, sharper. If I don't stop, it'll blunt and break. I love the one from the Zen about if you overdo the drawing. In this case, the Zen master is drawing a snake. He doesn't stop. He puts small legs onto it. Or a beard on a eunuch. So ask yourself now, and I'll end with that. In my life, in what areas of my life am I overdoing it? Overpraising is not a virtue. When somebody praised the Prophet Muhammad, oh, you're our master, you're this, Prophet Muhammad would say, no, please don't say that. Only God is your master. Please don't overdo your praise. I can over-criticize. What do the great teachers say? Jamal, if you keep on over-criticizing somebody, you end up criticizing the grand artist who made that person. Okay, I'll be quiet now. Just whatever I have said, I've spoken a lot. Whatever has splashed in your heart, resonated, just be with it for a few moments. And we'll do a short meditation. Okay, my friends, please close your eyes. And then just be with your nostril and simply be present with your in-breath and your out-breath, just this much. Connect with the breath. Mystics say, spirit, divinity is the breath within the breath. And now, let go of that, eyes still closed. And this time, please focus on the physical heart. Our heart has been yearning, aching to connect with us. If it works for you, put your hand, one hand, both hands over the heart and feel your heart. Connect with the rhythm, the beat of the heart. Once again, spirit, divinity is the heartbeat within the heartbeat. And then listen to that beautiful revelation that came to the Prophet Muhammad in a dream, where Spirit says to each one of us, God is saying, beloved one, I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart of my devotee. Just be with that. Divine heart is inside human heart. The space of the physical heart actually is infinite, boundless. The Quran says, to divinity belong the most beautiful names. In this vast, infinite space, they offer some suggestions. tell your divine heart, your human heart, that sacred space there, I love you. Say it unabashedly, with feeling, with sincerity. I love you. I love you. If it is difficult, please help me to love you. And you can continue. Thank you. I am so grateful. You can go on. Please. I implore you, help me. Please help me. I need help. I surrender to you. Whatever your heart wants you to say it with feeling. If possible, starting with, I love you. And as you keep saying those words again and again, you can never overdo this. A most beautiful divine vibration filled with love, blessings, healing, empowerment is going from the tongue into the mouth, into the throat, deep into the chest, even deeper, into the heart, even deeper, into the hidden, even deeper into the hidden of the hidden, astonishingly, amazingly, loving us, blessing us, healing us, empowering us. And now, as I chant Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you can join me, gently opening your eyes. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. One more time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. My friends, let's request Birgit and Phil to do one more piece of music, and while they do that, I'll request Sally Joe to say something about the offering.
So thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Phil and Birgit, for your beautiful music today, and all of you for coming. We have a time in our service where we collect the offering, free will offering, that we ask for help with the upkeep and the stewardship of this beautiful historic building and all the programs that take place here and is part of the community. And we appreciate all the volunteer hours that are given by all of our friends and members, and also the money that comes in to allow us to pay our bills, which we do have. And we are thankful for all of your support here and out in cyberspace. On the website, there's a donate button that you can use to make your donation. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Another Israeli folk song. How pleasant it is to dwell together in peace. We should all apply that to life.
Peace and unity, yeah. Tofu mandaim, la 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 la. Shevelchin kam yaknak, elimnet of Manaim, Shevelchin kam yaknak.
I think you may know this from Universal Peace. Dance is a universal peace. Thank you.
Once again, let's thank them by clapping hands or going like this to Birgit and Phil. Did you bring any CDs with you?
Not today.
Not today. Okay, okay, okay. So, my friends, as we come to the close, let's talk about upcoming gatherings. I want to tell you of one particular gathering we're having on New Year's Day. This has been a tradition for many, many years we've done with the Interfaith Amigos, actually, setting sacred intentions. And actually, it's usually been house full. We haven't had this because of the pandemic. So this New Year's Day at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4:30. And if it pleases you, bring some food, potluck. After these sacred intentions, we'll go downstairs and share fellowship, all of us. So we'll have flyers out. We'll send you information on that. George, you have meditation. You want to say something about the meditation?
Thank you, Jamal. Actually, several things, if you can indulge me for a minute. To Jamal's point, this Thursday, like every Thursday evening right here in the sanctuary, we have a simple sitting in silence. And the name describes it. It's what we do. We sit in silence. You know, I'd like to just say one more thing. I think as next year, Michael's not here, but as we start to look at the outlook for next year, for one, I'd like us to try to find ways to do more meditation. Sitting in silence on Thursday is lovely. We'd love to have you there. But if that's not for you and you have other suggestions, really, really would love to have you bring that forth and suggest something else. Because I think, you know, Jamal's touched upon it a number of times today. You know, getting in touch with ourselves, knowing ourselves. You know, it doesn't happen through reading books, and it doesn't happen through dialogue. It happens by reflection, and that reflection takes place in stillness and in silence. Off my soapbox about that. But the other thing, too, it's not too early to put onto your calendars the fact that the first Sunday in January 7th, I think it is our general membership meeting. Okay? And really, we encourage all members to come. We'll review the year in reflection. It's also the time, the meeting where we elect new officers for the guiding council. And so your participation and your input would be greatly appreciated. Also on the day before that, so you have on your calendar, January 6th on Saturday afternoon, we have our Meister Eckhart Reading Circle. So it's not too early to jot that down on your calendar. And newcomers, we've been meeting for several months now, but newcomers are always welcome. We read a writing of Eckhart's, 13th century Christian theologian, and we use him basically as a platform for discussion, spiritual discussion, and what that message says to us today. See that? There's confirmation to Jamal's point. Upcoming gathering also next Sunday. We're expecting Reverend Karen to return with us. She has been dealing with some issues, and I think she's home now, and we expect her to be here next Sunday. So on the back of today's program, and for those of you at home, next Sunday is the fourth Sunday of the month, and that is Reverend Karen's traditional service. And she'll be having our service with the theme of recreating the mind, transforming the body, heart, and mind. So please your attendance is appreciated. And I'm once going to get back on my soapbox for a second. Sally Jo mentioned about sharing our wealth. And she touched upon it briefly, but another way to share our wealth is with our volunteering time. And there's a lot of talent in this congregation. There's a lot of and a lot of kind hearts. And we have a need right now. We sent something out the other day, but we haven't gotten much response. Reverend Karen has been, for years, carrying the torch, doing all the journeyman work of keeping our website and our social media up. And frankly, as she's recovering and getting stronger and doing well, she needs some help with that. And so we put a call out for anyone who has knowledge of, a working knowledge of the social media and websites, and is willing to take a little bit of time out of their lives to kind of other of us will contribute who have lesser knowledge, but someone to take the lead in keeping that thing going, because if not, our message will shrink. And if anything, what we need to do is expand it, learn more about social media. We're on Facebook right now, but there are other opportunities. Anyway, I implore you, we implore you, if you have the time, it probably is about 1 or 2 TV shows that you watch each week. If you could take that time and put it aside, it would really, really, really help us. So give it some thought, please. And I thank you. Enough for me. Thank you, Jamal.
I really appreciate what you're saying, Brother George. So my friend will bring it to a close. Do look at the website. We have lots of programs happening in this house of worship. Course in Miracles, Native American programs, drumming, then CCV Circle, and many, many others. They're all listed in the website. And to remind you, as I always say, good Lord, it's been well over, since 1998, I've been saying the same thing. The real worship service starts downstairs. Fellowship over food and drink. That's where the real program starts, because that's where the real learning occurs. And I repeat again myself, they've done so much research in all these big conferences, presentations. What did you learn the most? Where did you learn it? Mostly during coffee breaks, lunch hour. That's when the largest amount of insight was conveyed and taken in. Okay, so let's all go downstairs, and there's wonderful food and drink downstairs. We'll partake of that. Before that, let's do a blessing. I think it's in the back of your program or somewhere there. We are blessed. We are blessed by your presence, O Lord. Take a deep breath. We are filled with your blessings, Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah. So we want to say goodbye to all those wonderful friends online. Deeply grateful for your presence. Please take care. Hopefully see you next week. And for our gathering here, just a few minutes, if you want to, any sharing, any heartfelt sharing from you. And I repeat myself, for the last 25 years,